Well, good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 114, and I'm continuing the story of the tiger or the jackal. So, as you might remember, the Raja's daughter, the princess, she had become very unhappy when the parrot, Tote, said that she looked like a washerwoman with one ankle bracelet on one ankle and none on the other. And so she, of course, in her manipulative ways, got her father, the Raja, to agree to have another ankle bracelet made. And who was sent on the task, of course, was Amir Ali. Now, he searched all through the palace, all through all of the vendors who sold jewels. He went everywhere he could to see if he could find jewels that matched the jewels that were in that ankle bracelet. But he couldn't. None compared. None were as large nor as beautifully cut. Finally, he had 1 week left, for he'd been given that 1 month of grace to find an ankle bracelet to match the one. And he remembered, well, he had never forgotten that day in the forest when he had broken that water pot. But he remembered that the fairy of the forest had said if he ever needed help to come and stand in that spot and call for help. And so he went back. And it took him about a day of traveling to get there. But he got to that spot and he stood in the spot and he called out, "Fairy of the forest, fairy of the forest, help me, help me." Well, who should appear at the door but the beautiful maiden who he had, well, never in a single day forgotten, even though he had been through many adventures and had traveled far. And in a very sweet and tender voice, she asked how she might help him. Well, he told her his story. She disappeared inside, and she came out with 2 wands and a boiling cauldron of water. And she said, "Come with me." Now, she got to a flat spot, and that was bare ground. And she placed the 2 wands about 6 feet apart. And then she placed the cauldron of water close by. And she turned to Amir Ali and said, "Here's what you must do. I will lay in between these 2 wands. And when I do, you must take your sword and you must lop off my foot. And once you've done so, you must take my foot and hold it over the cauldron. And for every drop of blood that falls into the cauldron, a jewel will appear." Well, Amir Ali, come on. He was like, "No way I'm going to do that." He said, "I would rather be hung 100 times than to treat you so roughly. I can't do it." But she said, no, there's nothing to worry about. Do not worry, it will all be fine. Just follow my instructions. The most important thing, she said, is when you have finished, switch the 2 wands and then place my foot back where it belonged, and it will heal. All will be well. She lay down between the wands. Amir Ali knew nothing more than to trust her, and he lifted his sword and lopped off her foot. And then he took it and held it over the cauldron of water, and as each drip of blood came off, they turned into jewels. When he felt that there were certainly enough, he quickly switched the wands and then took the foot and placed it back on the ankle of the maiden, and it amazingly healed again. And she suddenly opened her eyes and sat up with a start. Now, I will tell you that Amir Ali, when he had looked at her through this whole process, she looked like she was dead. But when she sat up, she opened her eyes, sprang to her feet, covered her face with her veil, and went into the hut. Well, Ali called after her. He wanted to talk to her, but she wouldn't come back out. And though he waited in vain. Eventually he went away. And it wasn't difficult for him to have those stones set into an ankle bracelet that looked almost exactly like the first one. In fact, he had so many gems and jewels that he was able to make 3. So with 4 ankle bracelets, he returned to the Raja and presented them to him. And the Raja presented these to his daughter, the princess, who the next morning was sporting around in her chamber with 2 ankle bracelets on each ankle. And the starling, of course, turned to the parrot and said, "Tote, what do you think of the princess's jewels now?" And Tote said, well, if she looked like a washerwoman before, she looks even more like a washerwoman now, with everything on, well, the downside of her body. She needs, well, necklaces or bracelets to balance things out. Oh my God, I can't look. Well, with this, the princess, of course, began to cry and weep, and she was distraught. She made a big fuss, and now it was even worse. She thought, how can I live like this? This is not okay. And finally, she went back to her father, the Raja, and said, this won't do. If you cannot get me, well, necklaces and bracelets that match the ankle bracelets, I'm just going to die. She began sobbing there in front of the Raja, and he said, don't worry, I'll take care of this. Amir Ali was called again and given now this task to supply bracelets and necklaces that were going to match the ankle bracelets. Unhappily, he turned and went away, and again he had 1 month to fulfill his task. We'll leave the story there. Find out what happens tomorrow. Okay, thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your day.